It is finally here! What is up, everyone? Sean Count Blaggerth here with an album review, this time the 2012 Nuclear Blast release of the new Wintersun album. Not saying the title. Reason being, Mr. Cannibal Spork got in trouble for just saying the title in a Blog TV announcement video, which is a complete and utter load of crap. So I'm not going to be saying anything specific. I will not be telling you where I heard it. I will not be telling you anything. Because I don't want Nuclear Blast to take down this review. Because this is a very important review. This is of a very important album and of a band that is very important to me. As you can see, I love Wintersun. If Wintersun had flags, I would own every one of them. And here I am holding the special tour edition of the first album. My God, what a masterpiece. When I bought this album, I listened to this for about, I want to say 6 months straight without taking it out of my CD player. Not exaggerating. That's how much I love this album. I also, another disclaimer, I do have this album pre-ordered and it will be in my hands soon, but I have to review this. I'm so excited about it, I have to put my thoughts out there. This is not Self-Titled Part 2. This is not the Wintersun that you have heard on their debut. This is not the album I was expecting to get. Honestly, I didn't know what my expectations were for this album. Reason being, and the biggest reason why I didn't know what to expect, is the absolute absurd time frame of how they started, when they started writing it, I should say, and where we are today. I've been waiting for this album since the debut. I bought that album right when the tour edition came out, and that was, I want to say, 2006. And I loved them before I got the tour edition. I listened to them over at a friend's house. But I have been extremely excited for this album for so long. And eventually I just kind of pushed it off to the wayside, thinking that it was never going to happen. But it's about damn time that it did. And my thoughts are this. If you're expecting Wintersun Part 1 self-titled, as I said, you're going to be disappointed. If you're looking for something that is way more epic and bombastic, strap in, because you're going to love this. From beginning to end, this is a cinematic styled record. This is not an album that really focuses on the musicianship as much as the composition and the songwriting and just how absolutely massive an album can sound. And from a sonic perspective, my thoughts on it are, it is extremely huge. It is extremely loud. It's a very loud album. When I say that, I don't mean it as in volume. Everything is heard properly, and that is something that's very difficult to achieve with an album that has as many layers as this does. My only complaint about this is 2 things. Actually 3. When it comes to the production department and the mixing, the guitars sound extremely flat. Extremely flat, excuse me. Everything else around it is so bombastic and so massive sounding, yet the guitar sounds paper thin. The tone sounds like it was more meant for lead than it was rhythm, which I don't understand why they didn't do 2 separate tones, because for my ears I can't really tell that they have. Maybe I'm wrong. Also, during this second track, I'm not going to say the title of it to avoid copyright infringement, the blast beats sound really fake. And I don't know if that's due to triggering, due to the absolute speed of it, or just how they mix the drums. It sounds like a drum machine, which kind of made me cringe a little bit, if I'm to be honest. Everything else about the drum sounds great, and in the slower sections, it's perfect. But when it hits the really high speeds, it feels fake. And that leads me to my third complaint. The orchestrations, the Japanese folk sort of influence that's on this record, it sounds artificial. With that said, it sounds good, but it doesn't sound like real Japanese instruments. It doesn't sound like a real orchestra. It just kind of sounds MIDI, which is fine, but I was expecting more, if I'm to be honest, and in a way, it sounds almost cheap. That is a letdown. But when it comes to the compositions, album flow, overall just not necessarily flow, but I guess it's still part of the flow is how all the songs connect. Just how everything goes together does make this album extremely good. I love the vocal work, I love the riffs, and let me speak on the vocal work. Yari's voice is phenomenal. This album is much more focused on the clean than the growls. And his clean singing has gotten 10 times better than it was before, and he was a great singer before. The best part about the cleans is the sheer catchiness of what he's singing. I would give you examples, but I'm not going to for the sake of the copyright infringement. I love everything about the clean singing and the vocal work in general. The growls are so ferocious, so throaty, so evil sounding, so hateful, yet still have somewhat of a despair to them. That's just a beautiful thing, and that's the thing that I love about Wintersun, is their blend of this dark, heavy, just very mysterious yet depressive sound, and the absolutely beautiful soundscapes that decorate the whole record is just beyond words. And for that, I gotta give them props. When it comes to guitar riffs, the riffs are very good. I wish they were a little bit louder, but when you have this many layers, that's kind of expected for something to get drowned out. But this is a metal record, and I kind of want to hear the guitar a little bit more. But from what I can hear, the riffs are very good. The solos are excellent. They're done tastefully. They're not over the top. This album is not so much a guitarist record as the self-titled one is. When it comes to the absolute ferociousness of the riffs, this album definitely delivers. If you're looking for something that's very aggressive, yet melodic and bombastic, this is for you. The bass, it's there, it's clear, but it's buried once again along with everything else. And that's my biggest problem, is how everything just kind of feels pushed in. It doesn't sound as much compressed, but it feels like there was way too many layers. If they would have cut back on some of them, would the songs be as bombastic? No. But from a sonic perspective, I think it would have sounded just a little bit better. The actual drum beats themselves are very good. I'm not a fan of the blast, as I said, just because they sound fake. I'm really enjoying a lot of the patterns, a lot of the rhythms, and a lot of the fills that are being done. With that said, some parts almost feel a little bit recycled from the debut, but yet it still has a fresh feeling, so that's fine. And of course, the lyrics are absolutely amazing. Couldn't ask for better lyrics from Wintersun. If I had to give this new album a score, it would be extremely difficult to do, but I'm gonna have to. And this may get me a little bit of hate. Some people may agree with me. This is not album of the year. And one of the things about the album that bothers me, too, and this is something I just kind of remembered, is it's short. Not that it's bad that it's short, but the album is definitely incomplete. Time 2 needs to come out. The second part to this record needs to see the light of day, and it needs to see the light of day ASAP because this album does not feel complete. I may review both when they are out and kind of put it in perspective of that, or I may do part 2 to kind of give my perspective on how parts 1 and 2 fit together. But overall, I do feel like this is a great record. It is absolutely fantastic. It is not album of the year. It didn't give me the feeling I was hoping for. A good example of an album that gave me the feeling that I was looking for this would be my current album of the year, which is The Giant by Ahab. That album gave me absolute chills from beginning to end, from the first minute to the last second. I sat there in awe with my jaw dropped, hair standing on end. This blew me away, but it didn't floor me. And I was hoping for an album that would floor me after this long wait. In perspective of when the album was written, and if it would have came out then, this would have been album of the year for that year. But factoring in how long I've been waiting for this and the length of time in between the releases, I feel like this is kind of a letdown. Am I disappointed? No. Do I feel like part 2 will make more sense? Yes. Do I feel like that maybe I'm giving the band a little bit of a, how should I put it, kick in the balls by putting it in perspective of the length of time that the album came out between the first and second? Yeah. Do I think this album will grow onto me? Maybe. I don't think it will to the degree that the first album did. But there are definitely beautiful and massive moments on here to be heard, and stuff for really every fan of whatever Wintersun has really brought forth on their last record. If you liked the shred parts, you're going to be disappointed. If you like the massive moments, you're going to fall in love. If production and mix isn't a big factor for you, then you are going to love this album. I just kind of feel like everything is just really, really buried. And honestly, that disappoints me a little bit. Songwriting, though, absolutely amazing. Blown away by it. For a score, I will give this a 9. I want to give it a 10 deep down, but I know I can't because of the flaws I mentioned and the fact that it's way too short. If it was the complete thing, would my score be different? Absolutely. But as of now, I'm going to give it a 9. Definitely buy this album when it comes out and support Wintersun because Yari deserves it. But that's really all I got to say about this new album. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And as always, keep it metal.